the latest episode of the Check Your Six podcast. I am your host, Warlock Recall, and you might see that I do not have a guest or a co-host tonight. He is out, not feeling well, so cheers, Syntax, feel better. We will see you next week. That being said, well, actually, I'll save that for once people get in here, because it's going to happen, That's how it happens. We've had some good participation the last couple of weeks, so we'll get it in here, but I'll go ahead and say it now, because anyone who's listening on the podcast will know that you need to pay attention to the stream, and because without a co-host, I want to get a little fast and loose with the show. We're going to be open to inviting someone into Discord and seeing if we can get some conversation going on with someone else. I might have to jigger with the camera and all that stuff, but we'll make it work and we'll figure it out. We'll do it live, as the meme goes. Though that might be an old meme, so might have just boomered myself, but whatever. This week, Syntax actually wanted to leave a couple notes for everyone to check out a couple of the VODs that happened this week in the North American Pro League, because one was a really big upset, and the other one was not so much an upset, like a drastic upset, but maybe a little surprise. I see this one kind of being like a ring around the rosy with three teams between TSM, Dark Zero, and Space Station. But just to get it out of the way, the fact that Dark Zero took out TSM 2-0 was a little bit of a surprise to Syntax and myself. Now, it was 7-4 on Consulate, with Dark Zero winning on attack at first, it looks like, and then with 4 rounds won on attack, and then Dark Zero winning Clubhouse 8-7. So a much closer game. Definitely a map that could have gone either way, and much closer to the outcome that Syntax and I were expecting with an 8-7. We were expecting a 1-1 split for the series during that matchup. So to see Dark Zero stand tall with 5 rounds on defense, that's a good outcome for them. They definitely worked for that one. And so it came out in their favor this time, but it could easily have gone 1-1 that time. But the 7-4 on Consulate was a little surprising to me, for that matter. Like, they still had, like, Zero was banned league-wide. This was before the Echo ban came in. There was Nomad, Ashe, Valkyrie, and Mira all banned. I think that's all pretty standard, pretty meta kind of stuff. Yeah, it's just Dark Zero was the better team this time. Granted that 2 of their members had a .77 rating, as opposed to only 1 on TSM having that low of a rating, but it doesn't matter the overall rating. It matters what plays you make when you were there. I mean, the fact that Hot and Cold was .77, but he still had 3 plants and a 71% headshot rating, which led the entire matchup except for Geo with the 75%. Sometimes that's all you need, is a good headshot every now and then. The survival rate doesn't quite matter. It just matters, did you make your value known while you were playing? And for the most part, it just looks like Dark Zero had a higher value overall. They were able to get more done in their short 1-2 shot lives, as they have it in Rainbow Six Siege. So that was an interesting takeaway from tonight, or from this week's gameplay. But the biggest surprise is Oxygen Esports winning 2-0 over Space Station Gaming. Just hubba what? Like, how is that supposed to happen? That just doesn't happen. Like, though I have to say, I'm impressed with Oxygen's banning. Like, no coastline, done. And they see that Consulate gets banned. Cool. They pick Theme Park. Theme Park, of all people. Jeez, of all places. Like, I'm still not used to that map, and I can only imagine pros grind on it. But it's still maybe not a favorite map, and certainly not one that you would expect players to be one I don't expect pro players to play on, because I'm just not a fan of it, but that's how it goes sometimes. Sorry, doing a little live broadcast editing. Now that I have new real estate being flying solo tonight for some reason or another. Well, not some reason. I know why the reason is. I'm bad at verbatim or ad hocing words. We're doing this live, so let's do it. Theme park was picked. Cafe was picked. I'm not quite sure about the Villa ban. I'm sure they're way more informed than I am, but I honestly would have gone away from Clubhouse. But not that it matters much, because Oxygen knew what they were doing. They put the 2.0 hurrr on Space Station Gaming. Syntax and I chatted a little bit before the podcast started just to sync up with his thoughts, and he wasn't too surprised. Like, he was obviously surprised by the outcome, but this was after the league-wide ban on Echo came in. Now, Echo obviously has a huge utility that could have been used to really mess with Oxygen, because that's just what Echo does. He messes with everybody's plans. So maybe that was a factor. I doubt it, because as a pro player, or with pro players, you expect them to have deeper operator pools than your random pugs. So it shouldn't have had that big of a play, but the fact that everyone gets a free ban out of this, it does shake up the meta a little bit. Maverick, Jackal, Bandit, Wamai all banned on Theme Park, and then on Cafe, Nomad, Ace, Wamai, and Mira. Like, we're seeing the bans come out, like, as you would kind of expect. So yeah, like Villa, Oregon banned. I still feel like I would have gone to Villa over Clubhouse against SSG, but I'm dead wrong, as Oxygen proved me wrong. And the name Oxygen may not mean much to some people following Rainbow Six Siege, but let's read the player names on there: Vertical, Slashug, Laxing, Foxay, Biologic. Those are big time names. Those are players who know how to get work done. End of story. They got work done tonight, and they were the better team, hands down. Bottom cost player, Biologic, at 62% on Oxygen. Bottom on Space Station is Rampy. And like, when you have Rampy, Canadian, Thinking, Bosco, Fultz on and off night, that's going to pull your entire team down. Duh, that's how Siege works. But like, with Space Station, they are such a finely tuned machine that when one player drops, usually someone else can pick up the slack. Someone else can pick it up for that round. They can get it back in for that next round, get it in for the next series, get it in for the next chain, next half. But it just did not come up their way. Canadian managed 4 different plants, and I mean, that's a big deal. But I guess there just wasn't enough support there. Too much value lost getting to that plant. So that's devastating in the long run if you're looking at the league and as a whole. Like, I wouldn't expect DZ or TSM to drop a map to Oxygen, but maybe Oxygen just hit their stride, and now we have a 4th team really competing in North America. We will have to keep a much closer eye on this team going forward. Switching over to North America Collegiate Rainbow Six, we are diving into the CEA League. There were 6 matchups this week. Pennsylvania State University versus Colorado State University Boulder, CU Boulder. Their veteran team coming out. Now, they had 2 ties earlier in the season, so they were looking for that first win. And as I said last week, it felt like it was going to be an uphill battle for CU Boulder after they were unable to take many rounds off of Akron or RIT, and it just, they played the first and second seed teams from the other division last week, and that they were able to tie. But seeing how those teams match up in their matches this week was going to be a big indicator about where maybe CU Boulder Black actually stack ranks in the league. Now, CU Boulder pulled out a partial win against Pennsylvania State University, winning one map and drawing the other. And they were tied. They had tied the other two leaders in the other division. So this was their chance to kind of put a stake in the ground and see where they're at. And honestly, it's kind of funny. 2 ties and a partial win puts them in second place in their division. Points matter. No matter how you're getting them, points matter. Now, even with the partial win over PSU, they're tied with PSU for second place. So they both have 4 points, or 3 points, 1 point. Regardless, they're both tied. That's all I'm saying. PSU has a loss and a win, and then a loss, a win, and a draw, while CU Boulder has 2 draws and a partial win, all the same amount of points. So there you go. 1 point for a draw, 2 points for a partial win. That's how it works out. They both have 4 points. I remembered. So this is having tied against the top of the other division. Maybe I didn't give CU Boulder enough credit. They pulled off the partial win, as I said, and now they're tied with them in second place in the Rogue Spear division. The other side of the conference, the other division, RIT took on Wisconsin, Madison Esports Red. This fell to a partial win, one map win, 1 map draw for RIT, and it feels like it makes sense for who they were up against. Like, I said that they were neck and neck last week. They had the same record, they had the same round differential against each other, and the difference was RIT had a partial win, while Wisconsin, or Madison, their WISC is their acronym. Sorry, I'm getting it mixed up. Madison Esports Red was that they had a draw. So it was a draw versus a partial win, and it was too close to call. You probably could have looked at gambling stats and seen a 50-50. So it was anybody's game. And the fact that it comes down to a partial win really reflects just how close those two teams actually are competing with each other. So the fact that they're tied for first and second in their division is really quite exciting. Or how's the points breakdown actually? I gotta look into that and see how the points actually break down. I wonder if they are still tied for first and second. Let's look it up. Why don't we? While everything loads, I will keep going on. Last week I said Carnegie Mellon just needs to show up with a pulse and Rutgers won't know what to do. This was after Rutgers had 2 straight losses, a round differential of negative 15. I really didn't think there was much to say. I think that they either made a great roster swap, they stopped having technical difficulties and had their full roster show up, and they didn't have to hit the bench this time, or something just clicked. Something happened on the back end because Rutgers won. They showed up and proved me wrong, which was, I mean, it's not like a miracle to prove me wrong by any means, but it's kind of funny to see that the team that was 0-2 being called out rises to the occasion and puts Carnegie Mellon in their place. That's pretty cool to see, and make sure that there is competitive integrity with this team, with this league, because honestly, really, that's all there is to say about that matchup. Like, Rutgers came out and won it 2-0. Sweet. Way to go, guys. But on the other side, we have another surprise. And while I called it, saying that CSULB's roster must have changed, because I don't understand a winless COSLB in any league. Winless in any league just does not make sense to me. Maybe they have their B squad participating in CEA. I don't think that would have flown given the organization of everything. I don't think that would have really been allowed. So for them to have not been able to put up a win at all against Pennsylvania State or Akron makes sense. I mean, those two teams are no slouches, as we've already discussed. But for CSULB to just not be able to turn one of those around is really surprising. And again, for them to fall to Michigan Technological University, like that's, I don't know where MTU came out of. Like, hello, you're a new team. Nice to meet you. You are making yourselves well known. I mean, MTU lost to Akron. I'm not going to hold that against anybody. Tied CU Boulder Black. Hello. And then won against CSULB. Suddenly, we have a dark horse coming up in the Rogue Spear division of CEA. This is really cool to see. And I mean, this goes completely the opposite direction of Rutgers' 180 flip. We're seeing CSULB just get buried in the sand, and it's not a good look for them. Here we go. We got the standings. So Akron 3 wins, 9 points. CU Boulder Black 4 points. Pennsylvania State 4 points. So they're tied for second and third. Here we go. So RIT is in first place with 8 points. Madison Red with 4 points in third place, and Rutgers at fourth out of 6. Mind you, that as soon as you start getting into third and fourth, you're kind of at risk of not making playoffs, and it's not a good place to be. But Rutgers beat Carnegie Mellon and for their first win, and now they're tied with Carnegie Mellon in actual stats. So we have a race going on in the bottom 4 spots, because Madison Red, having lost to, or even partially losing to Wisconsin, or to RIT, puts them at 4 points, because a partial win for RIT counts as a loss for Madison, which is devastating in points. It's the difference between no points and 2 points. Yikes. That's not a good, or they could have, if they would have had a 1-1 split, they would have had 1 point, and RIT would have only been at 7 points, or 6 points really, and Madison Esports Red would have been at 5 points, much closer. They would have put them very much in striking distance. Now they're at least 2 weeks away from being able to take away first place from RIT. So this is getting down to the wire. These are their last weeks, I believe. Let me double check this, because the divisions are little over the place. Yeah, so I mean, this is the end of week 3. They've got 2 more chances, 2 more games to hope that RIT blunders it. I mean, blunder is calling it lighthearted. I mean, for RIT, they're up against Carnegie Mellon and FIU. Okay, so FIU versus RIT is their one opportunity to really pull back ahead. But even then, RIT and FIU are both ahead of Madison. So they could hope at best for a partial win from Florida, from FIU, Florida International University. They could hope for a partial win for FIU over RIT 2 weeks from now. Next week, I mean, if Carnegie Mellon could pull out anything other than a loss, it would be a huge boon for Madison. And that's just how it's going to play out. Rutgers, New York Tech, Carnegie Mellon, I don't see them in the postseason at all. No chance, basically. So unfortunate as that is the way the cookie crumbles. Let's see, what else? What other matches do we have to talk about? Talked about CSU or CUB, PSU, RIT, Wisconsin, Rutgers over Carnegie Mellon, CSULB, we talked about that one. FIU over NYT. This one was if FIU showed up with a pulse, they were just going to win it. Yeah, they stuck to their game. They won 2-0, no big deal. New York Tech down three losses in a row. They're out of the playoffs. They will most likely be relegated out. I can't say with certainty, but it being negative 19 round differential, just not a good look for an invite league. Basically, it just last season CA was plagued with one team who qualified and then left and never played a single game, and they had to make some rule adjustments to try and make it fair for the teams playing in a 5-team league as opposed to a 6-team league. I think that's how it went. But having to make those adjustments, we've got another stinker in here. We've got a team that's just kind of throwing off the integrity of the league, where they're just not able to compete at the same level. And it's not, and I mean, maybe you lump them in with Rutgers and Carnegie Mellon, but we know that there are some very talented teams in collegiate Rainbow Six, and they're just not playing in CEA, and I'm really curious about that. A lot of them are maybe stuck in the open league, and we just don't see enough relegations happening. I would love to see CEA extend to a longer season with multiple relegations per season. So in the fall, have 2 relegations within the mid-season. Because, I mean, we see 3-4 teams per division that, 5 in the case of Rogue Spear, 5 that are just having a really tough time getting points. Maybe Akron is the outlier here. Maybe Akron needs to be kicked out because they're too good for the league. Well, that would be silly. Let's not do that. So we have to start looking at more of the teams and how they're performing 3 weeks in and say, okay, winless, you have to fight to survive and trade with one of the open league teams. See who actually is the better team. See who actually belongs in the Invitational League, and not just waiting a full quarter, a full semester before trading them out. I mean, this is the fall season. We can't be falling short on how things go. I just realized I didn't have chat up, but that's okay. So I'm really, really curious to see how CE makes a shift from this, because it's been kind of the status quo for not so much the competitive integrity. I know they're doing work. I know they're taking care of business, but it's down to making adjustments to make sure that the best teams are in the Invite League. There's so much movement going on with the collegiate scene and rosters that change, players who can't play because of a heavy course load, players who drop out, players who transfer schools, all this, so on and so forth. Like, collegiate esports for Rainbow Six may not be quite there yet, or it definitely isn't there yet, where colleges are recruiting Rainbow Six players. They're getting it for like Overwatch and League of Legends and stuff, and Rainbow Six is getting there. We're just getting the Face It League and some recognition from the developers, so hold on tight. Changes are happening, changes coming, but we just have to be a little more patient going forward. And the last match of the week from CEA is what I called a thunderstorm, lightning storm. ASU staring up at Zeus on top of Mount Olympus. And I was wrong. It was not staring up at Mount Olympus and having this mythological, unbearable burden for ASU to battle on. No, this one was grounded in reality. This was a Category 5 hurricane. Just all over ASU. And the hurricane's name was IMAT. Hands down. The guy was playing Duck Hunt while everyone else was trying to play Siege. He clicked so many heads and made so much happen by himself. And he used the intel and his team to exceptional degree. The teamwork is undoubted there. Like, Akron is just that good, but IMAT was having a particular night, let me tell you. On Cafe, map 1, he went 18-3-3. Are you kidding me? Like, I believe at one point he was 13-1 or 13-3-1. One death. And that was like 5 rounds in. It was disgusting. Map 1, Akron, 7-1. Basically how... I mean, I had a lot of hope for ASU to be able to take a couple rounds off. I thought it was going to be closer. But 7-1 on Cafe for Akron. And then map 2 happened on Villa, where Hurricane IMAT was still in full force. It was weakening. It was starting to curve towards the coast and kind of go off coast and die down a little bit, but still 12-4-6. 12-4-6. Another 7-1 routing by Akron. And when you total it all up, 30 frags, 7 assists, and 9 deaths. 9 deaths in 16 rounds of play with 30 frags. I mean, when you have someone popping off like that, there's just nothing you can do. And I think that this is absolutely what Sijomo was saying, where he was saying that Akron was better than last year. I don't know if the whole team is better than last year, but IMAT certainly is. And I mean, the other team members, they were certainly pulling their weight. I wish we had cost breakdowns for them and was able to evaluate what they did each round. And each one of them had great plays. I mean, you go back and watch that VOD and you go, oh, so that's what he did. Oh, that's what Sermon did. Oh, okay. It makes sense. It all just played out in their hand every single time. And as IMAT won one confrontation, he was able to move on to another and another and another. Like, it was pretty gross. Pretty gross. So, Akron looking prime this season. I bet if they keep this up, they will sweep the fall leagues again. So they'll sweep CEA, they'll sweep CR6, and with only 111 teams in the Face It Collegiate Championship League for the fall, which, I mean, that's a lot of teams, true, all competing in the same league without it being seeded, but broken down by geolocation. Akron has a real chance at sweeping things again like they did last fall. So that's a scary bit to consider, to have a 2-peat, 3-peat in the fall season could be pretty well devastating to any team in the Invite League and CEA. They'll be scared shitless, to put it frankly, for those qualifying. And hopefully there will be some teams who are hungry for this, hungry for that opportunity. So there's that. Week 4 matchups, CU Boulder versus CUSULB. Boulder's just going to be a boulder rolling downhill and steamroll them. ASU versus Michigan Technological University. I have to put money on the records. Michigan is going to take this one. Partial win possible. I think MTU actually takes it in a full win as more likely. Akron versus PSU. This is going to be the only real challenge for Akron, I think, this year. Who's Akron playing? So Akron will play Boulder Black in the last week. So the top two teams, they have their hardest match. Akron has their top difficulty matches coming up over the next 2 weeks. So they've got time to prepare. They know exactly what those teams will have to bring out against them. I think Akron still has a solid chance at going undefeated in this 5-week fall season. Next week, we have Wisconsin versus New York Tech. Easy call for Wisconsin. New York Tech just hasn't been there. -19 round differential. But I'll call it again. Hard to say that the team that they're up against will not win. Rutgers versus FIU. I have to give it to FIU. Rutgers just too inconsistent, and we'll see if they've really changed this time around. It may be too early to put a name on it, but FIU is also just a strong team all the way around. RIT versus Carnegie Mellon. Yeah, it's RIT's match. Straightforward, easy to go. So yeah, that's CEA. Let me toggle over some statistics over to CR6. Don't need that. Don't need that. Close. And we've got many teams. 4 teams in the Northern and 4 teams in the Southern leagues who are undefeated. 3 in the Gulf Coast, Midwest, and Mountain Pacific, which is what you would expect after 3 weeks of play, given that Northern and Southern have 28 teams, in them, and Gulf Coast, Midwest, and Mountain Pacific, I can talk, have 24 each. So the teams don't surprise me. This is without round differentials, so I can't really get into that. CR6 doing a lot of due diligence in the background, doing a lot of work on their stats page, but they were kind enough to give us this and the spreadsheet with the actual match outcomes, which I'll pull up in just a second. Though it's not pretty, so I don't want to blind you with my white Excel sheet. Let's see. We'll go over the 2-0 matchups from last week. So these were all perfect 2-0 teams playing each other across all 5 divisions. We have Akron versus Boston. Akron wins. New Jersey Institute of Technology, Highlanders against, I don't remember what Sunjay is, but it's going to bother me because it's like, it's not Purdue, but you know, it's another one of those. No, let's see, 6 teams. Let me look it up real quick. Stockton, that's what it is. Stockton University, New Jersey. So Stockton lost to New Jersey Institute of Technology. Alfred State Esports, it was going to be a close one, but they lost to University of Montreal. MSU Green. MSU. Michigan State University beat out FPU, Florida Polytechnic University varsity. That is surprising to me. Now, Michigan seemingly coming into relevance this season with Michigan Technological over at CEA, and now Michigan Technological is even over here in CR6, so we'll have to keep an eye on them and see how they are progressing. But for now, Michigan State University pulling up top and making sure that they're still undefeated in the... What division is that? That is the Southern Division. Further matches in the Southern Division. Texas Tech Gold lost to Georgia Tech Gold. Now that is... Is that? Oh, no, that was Tennessee Tech. Sorry. Tennessee Tech lost to Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, solid, like they've been around. They've been competing in CR6 for as long as I can remember. So kudos to them for staying at the top this time around. Ohio State Gray is undefeated after defeating... Where is it? It's on my list. There it is. They won over Wright State Esports. I didn't have this marked as a perfect team. They might have. Oh, because there was one team that was going to be perfect and not play a perfect team. That would be this matchup. Wright Esports would have only had one win at this point, and yikes. Sucks to be them, to have to go up against a perfect team at this point, but someone had to be that sacrificial lamb, unfortunately. So that happens, but we'll see how they bounce back. Ohio State gets essentially a bye into the next round, assuming Wright State Esports wasn't able to put up much of a competition to them. Double checking chat, we're still good. Moving on to the Midwest Division in the Central Conference. We've got University of Central Missouri Esports losing to Iowa Gold. That is about what I expected. SEMO Black losing to Purdue Gold. But, I mean, SEMO and Purdue, I don't have much history on them. Purdue's been around. SEMO Black, I recognize the name, but honestly did not pay much attention to. And Purdue making a name for themselves. University of Michigan Gold, or Minnesota Gold, losing out to Illinois State Varsity. That's a given. I mean, Illinois State Varsity has been a talented team for a long time, and to see them keep that tradition does not surprise me in the slightest. Moving on to the Gulf Coast Division, Texas Tech took on Texas A&M Maroon, or Syntax's alma mater, and Texas Tech ends up taking it. So A&M might be feeling a little shame going on, seeing as they're no longer top dogs in Texas. Texas Tech coming in swinging this year, which I'm excited to see more of their play, so I'm hoping to catch another of their VODs soon. Longhorn Gaming took it to University of Wisconsin. Where is it? So many names, man. Was that J? Oh, it was JV. Oh, that's why. It was the JV squad, but it was the JV squad that was doing well. So Longhorn Gaming Orange taking on UW Esports, Whitewater JV. That's what it is. University of Wisconsin Whitewater. So JV squad Whitewater has been a great opponent. To see their JV squad doing so well is exciting. Oklahoma State Orange beat the Cajuns, which Oklahoma State still the dark horse. I think Oklahoma and Oregon are still my favorites to surprise people, but I'm going to have to keep an eye on a few other teams who are new to this reign of undefeated season. Moving forward, last division of 2-0 teams, Boise State taking it to UC San Diego. Again, the Boise State, they've been around, but competitive? No. Here they are. They are 3-0 against some very talented teams. I want to look back at this. I'll go back to Boise. I'm going to look this up real quick. Boise State University. First matchup. Cal Poly Pomona. Decent competitive team. OTGS Owls. I don't know them. There's multiple Boise States. That's why. Okay. Okay, so I think Boise State University is the main team. Boise State University Orange is not the main team. I think Orange is their JV squad. We'll see how that goes. See how that breaks down. UC Santa Barbara Ocean versus Cal Esports. Cal Esports wins. No surprise there. Colorado Frost versus CU Boulder Black. given CU Boulder Black's slow start in CEA, I had a little hesitancy, but they seem to be back with the partial win in CEA and now a full-on win in CR6 to keep them undefeated. It's a place to be. It's a good mindset reminder, which teams who are only in one league will not be getting. They don't get that refresh of knowing that they still matter in their divisions. A lot of these leagues are geolocated now. A lot of these leagues are forcing players to play against schools that they will see in other leagues. So this is a good place for CU Boulder to be building some momentum and to come back into CEA and to keep their fall postseason dreams alive, even if it is only in one league. That's the matchups in CR6 that I have access to, and that's going to about wrap it up. The stats for this week, unavailable to show, unfortunately. Keep a lookout on the CEA and CR6 league pages. Speaking of leagues, the Face It Collegiate Championship League, the registration ended yesterday. So if you didn't register, you are out of luck, unfortunately. We will have to see how the 111 teams manage to break down and see how they're organized coming soon. We will have a third league coming up front for everyone, and with that league, we will see some additional stats. Maybe we will breeze through some stats again next week, but we will dive more into the players. If you're interested in an interview or joining Syntax and myself for an episode to talk through these matchups going on, what insider information you have, please let me know. Contact me at Warlock or Call on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Periscope, yada yada yada. You can reach to me there. You can even DM me on Twitch or on YouTube. All of those lines are open. Hit me up. Let me know if you have comments for the podcast, things you want to see, comments you want to make, corrections in case I did something wrong. It's entirely possible. You can send me messages at anchor.fm/checkyour6/message, and we'll get the ones that are appropriate onto the show. And so you'll hear your question, we will give you credit, we will talk about it, and we will make sure that the voices of the community are heard, because we want to see Collegiate Rainbow Six, not just the league, the entire environment, grow and strive for more and better content. So we will see how it goes going then. With that in mind, that's the podcast. I've got your back. So no worries. You don't need to worry about checking your six. Deadpan stare. I did that. That happened. It's okay. This is me when I have to fill time and space. And I mean, without Syntax and I going over stats and asking questions, it's a little hard to fill an hour, but we did it. We made it through. If you're interested in participating in the show, let me know. We will work out interviews. If your team wants to come on, if you want to play casual with me, I am well open for that, and I will make sure you know why I am a podcaster and not a collegiate or pro Rainbow Six player. That's it. That's the show. I appreciate everyone. Appreciate all the ears that are coming out to download this. If you're a team, if you're a player, you want to let us know how your matchups went, again, leave a message on that link, anchor.fm/checkyour6/message, and we will talk. We will get it out together. We will make sure that people will learn more about your school, more about your program, more about your team, because we want collegiate to grow. We want to hook you up as much as we can. We want to boost your signal. Take care of your team, take care of your esports clubs, take care of your other esports fans on campus by boosting the signal on your team. Help me, help you, as Jerry Maguire would say. Let's do this. Here we go. I will talk to you all next week. Thank you so much. I appreciate your ears and your time. And if you're listening on the stream, appreciate you tuning in and looking at this mug for some time. So thank you much, and I will see you next week.